yourself. What if I told you the hero you've been waiting for? The one you've been praying for, yourself. Hoping would show up and change everything. Has been you this entire time. What if I told you no one's coming to save you? Because you are the one. See, we spend so much of our lives waiting for permission, waiting for perfect timing, waiting for someone to pick us, validate us, see us, yourself. But let me tell you something real, something raw. You don't need to be chosen, you need to choose yourself. And the moment you do, yourself, that's when the story changes. That's when the victim becomes the victor. That's when the background character becomes the lead, yourself. Not because someone handed it to you, but because you stood up and took it. You have greatness within you. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Go ahead, try it. I have greatness within me. Did you believe it when you said it? Or did your mind immediately shout back? No, yourself. Not me, not after everything I've been through. That voice, that doubting voice, is exactly what we're going to confront today. Yourself. Because here's the truth, greatness isn't reserved for the rich, the famous, the lucky, or the perfect. It lives in everyday people. People who've been broken, betrayed, beaten down by life, but choose to rise again. People like you. Now, maybe you grew up in a home where nobody ever told you you were special. Yourself. Maybe they said the opposite. Maybe they told you to be quiet, to stay in your place, to not expect too much from life. And over time, you started believing that. Yourself. You started shrinking yourself to fit into the box other people built for you. Let me tell you something, your current situation is not your final destination. See, yourself. Greatness doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It starts with a whisper. A little voice inside that says, self, there's more to me than this. And the moment you start listening to that whisper, that's when something shifts. You don't have to feel ready. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to believe, even just a little, that something inside you is worth fighting for. I remember a young woman, let's call her Maya, grew up in a rough neighborhood. Her mom worked 2 jobs. Dad wasn't around. So nobody in her family had ever gone to college. She was smart, sure, but she never said it out loud. Because if she spoke up in school, the other kids would laugh. If she got too many answers right, they'd call her a tree hard, or worse. So she kept her head down, blended in, until one day, yourself. Her English teacher handed her back a short story she'd written, just a class assignment, nothing fancy. Yourself. At the top of the page were 3 words she'd never heard before. You are gifted. She stared at those words like they were in another language. Gifted. Yourself. Me. The teacher smiled and said, you don't even know what you're capable of, do you? That was the spark. That one moment didn't erase all her problems. It didn't lift her out of poverty or make school any easier, but it did plant a seed. Maya started writing more. She started staying after class, asking questions, exploring colleges online. Everyone around her thought she was wasting time. What are you going to do with that? Be a writer. Please. But she kept going. Yourself. Fast forward 10 years, and Maya is the author of 3 best-selling books. She speaks at schools across the country. And every time she signs her name, herself, she remembers that first story, that first teacher, that first moment someone saw the greatness in her, before she saw it herself. So, let me ask you, who told you you don't have greatness? Who told you you were too old, too young, too broken, too late? Who made you believe your voice didn't matter? Yourself. Because that's the biggest lie we ever get sold, that greatness belongs to someone else. It doesn't. It belongs to the single mom trying to raise her kids right with everything stacked against her. It belongs to the man who's working 2 jobs, not for glory, but just to keep his promise. It belongs to the young person who's battling anxiety, showing up every day, quietly choosing to keep going. That's greatness. It's yourself. It's not about applause. It's not about trophies. It's about courage, persistence, heart, yourself. And I know what you're thinking, but you don't know what I've been through. You're right, I don't. But I do know this, yourself. The darkest nights produce the brightest stars. If you've been through hell and you're still breathing, there's something inside you the world needs. Self, you're not broken. You're seasoned. You've got scars. That's experience. You've fallen. That's wisdom. You've lost people. That's love that still echoes. The pain you felt, the weight you've carried, it didn't show up to destroy you. It showed up to reveal you. But you've got to dig yourself. You've got to push past the noise, the critics, the doubts, the fear. You've got to stop asking for permission to be great. You've got to claim it. Oh, think about a seed. You plant it, cover it with dirt, and for a while, it looks like nothing's happening. But under the surface, that seed is working. Yourself. It's cracking open, growing roots, building a foundation. You are that seed. You don't need a spotlight to grow. You don't need applause. You just need faith. Yourself. Faith in the process. Faith in yourself. Faith that what's inside you is bigger than what's around you. There was a man named Thomas, mid-40s, recently laid off. He's worked the same factory job for over 20 years. Suddenly it's gone. Just like that. No warning, no gratitude, just a pink slip and a box. He came home, stared at the sky, and said, "What now?" He could have folded. He almost did. But then he remembered, years ago, before the job, before the kids, he loved fixing things. Small engines, lawnmowers, old radios. So he took a risk, started tinkering in his garage. Word spread. A neighbor brought a busted generator. Then another brought an old snowblower. One job turned into 5. 5 turned into 100. Today, Thomas owns his own repair shop, has 2 employees, pays the bills doing what he loves, himself. But none of that would have happened if he didn't believe. Even when the world said he had nothing left, that there was still something in him. Let me tell you something. No matter your age, your mistakes, your past, it's not too late. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. Say it again. I have greatness within me. Now say it like you mean it. Because the truth is, yourself. You can't wait for someone else to crown you. You have to step into it. You have to own it. Walk like you've got it. Talk like you've got it. Work like you've got it. Because when you do, the world starts to respond. Opportunities begin to show up. The right people find you. Self. But it all starts with belief. Not outside validation, but that quiet, unshakable belief that you are here for a reason. There is a reason your heart is still beating. A reason you woke up this morning. A reason your story isn't finished. Yourself. And I don't care what you've been through. You've still got more chapters left. So the question is if pain is the prerequisite for power. Let that settle in for a second. Not popularity, not privilege, not perfection. Pain. See, most people run from pain. They dodge it, numb it. Yourself. Try to act like it's not there. We're conditioned to think pain is the enemy. That it's something to avoid at all costs. But here's the twist. The people who become the strongest, the wisest, the most powerful, they're not the ones who had it easy. Yourself. They're the ones who learn how to use the pain. There's a difference between going through something and growing through something. Yourself. Everybody goes through hard times, but not everybody grows from them. And that's the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck. Self. Think about a diamond. Before it shines, before it sparkles, what is it? Just a piece of coal. Black, dusty, unimpressive. But put it under pressure. Intense heat. Self. Crushing force. That's when it transforms. That's when it becomes something rarer, something valuable. And you're no different. Yourself. I know some of you are carrying pain that nobody sees. You smile in public, but at night, when the lights are off and it's just you and your thoughts, you feel it. Maybe it's heartbreak. Maybe it's the loss of someone you loved so deeply it still aches. Maybe it's failure, betrayal, disappointment after disappointment. Self. You start to wonder, why me? What's the point of all this? But let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone strong who didn't have a story? Yourself. Someone wise who hadn't made mistakes. Someone compassionate who hadn't suffered. Self. The people who've been through something, they're the ones who really see others. They're the ones who walk into a room and feel what no one's saying. Why? Yourself. Because they've been there. They've lived it. And that pain, it gave them power. There was a man I knew. Let's call him Marcus. Quiet guy. Reserved. Self. Never said much in meetings. Always in the background. One day, a young intern had a breakdown. Crying in the break room, overwhelmed. Feeling like a failure. Everyone else kept walking by, awkward, unsure of what to say. But Marcus sat down next to her and said 4 words. I've been there too. And in that moment, his voice, it carried weight. Because it came from experience. See, years ago, Marcus had lost his brother. Then his job. Then his confidence. Yourself. He had almost taken his own life, but he didn't. He got help. He did the work. And now, he was the calm in someone else's storm. That's what pain can do, yourself. It can break you, yes, but it can also build you into someone this world desperately needs. You can't learn resilience from comfort, yourself. You can't develop strength by sitting still. And you don't find your voice when everything's going your way. You find it when you're screaming in the dark, yourself, and no one answers, and you decide to speak anyway. I want you to think back to the hardest thing you've ever gone through. That moment when you thought, yourself, I can't do this. I'm not going to make it, but guess what? You're still here, still standing, still breathing. That means something. Yourself. That means there's more in you than you thought. Now, this isn't about glorifying pain or pretending it doesn't hurt. It does. Pain is real. It leaves scars. Self. Some of it you carry for years. But instead of hiding those scars, what if you wore them as proof? Proof that you survived. Proof that you didn't give up. Self. Proof that something tried to take you out and failed. There's a woman I once met, powerful speaker now, travels the world inspiring others. But before all that, she was homeless, living out of her car. Divorced, broke, raising 2 kids, and no idea how she was going to make it. Self. She said there were nights she cried so hard in the driver's seat, her tears fogged up the windshield. But here's what she told me. That pain taught me how to fight. It taught me how to pray. It taught me how to push. Today, she stands on stages with thousands in the audience, and you know what they feel when she speaks? Truth. Because her words are dipped in fire. Yourself. She earned every syllable through pain. That's power. And the same power lies in you. But you've got to stop seeing your pain as punishment. Yourself. Start seeing it as a teacher. What did it show you? What did it reveal about who you are? What did it unlock in you that nothing else could? Yourself. Some of the strongest muscles in the human body only grow when torn first. Literally torn apart and rebuilt stronger than before. Your heart works the same way. So your spirit works the same way. Yourself. Don't let people fool you with their perfect lives on screens. Everyone's fighting a battle. Everyone's had their moment in the fire. The difference is, some people walk through it and come out gold. Not because they're lucky, because they refuse to quit. Pain will ask you, self, will you let this define you or refine you? Will you hide or will you heal? Will you stay down, yourself? Or will you rise with a new fire? You won't always have answers right away. And that's okay. Sometimes you've got to sit with the pain. Feel it. Let it teach you. Then decide what to do next. Not from fear, from clarity. Because the truth is, pain will either imprison you or empower you. The choice. That's yours. Always has been. Rewrite the story. Don't relive the trauma. Most people don't even realize they're stuck in a loop. Day after day. Thought after thought. Self. Reliving the same moments, the same hurt, the same betrayal. Like pressing rewind on the worst part of the movie and watching it again and again and again. Yourself. And the crazy part, sometimes you don't even know you're doing it. You're just reacting, repeating patterns. Yourself. Carrying the weight of something that happened years ago. Something that still whispers, this is who you are now. But let me tell you something. You are not your past. You are not the version of yourself that made that mistake. You are not the person who was abandoned. You're not just the sum of what happened to you. You are the author now. See, self. We all start out writing our story with crayons. Bold, messy, full of imagination. Then life happens. Someone tells us, yourself, that dream's too big. Someone breaks our heart. Something traumatic knocks the wind out of us. And slowly that pencil gets heavier. The colors start to fade. The words become hesitant, cautious, guarded. But the pen never left your hand. You can't change what happened. And you don't have to, yourself. But you can decide what it means. Think about that. 2 people can go through the exact same experience. One becomes bitter, the other becomes better. One says, that broke me. The other says, that built me. Same story, different interpretation. And no, yourself. Rewriting your story doesn't mean pretending the pain didn't happen. It means you stop letting the pain be the final chapter. Yourself. You stop letting the trauma set the tone for every page after. I met a man once. He'd been in prison for 15 years. Yourself. Made one decision at 17 that cost him everything. When he got out, he told me, for years I thought I was just a criminal. Self. That one choice defined me. But then something shifted. He started speaking to youth. Sharing his story, helping kids avoid the trap he fell into. He said, yourself. I can't erase what I did. But I can use it. And that's the difference. That's rewriting. He didn't pretend he hadn't messed up. Yourself. He just refused to let that be the only thing his life stood for. So let me ask you, what old chapter are you still reading like it's happening today? Yourself. Who told you that your voice didn't matter? Who made you feel small? Who hurt you, walked away from you, made you question your worth? Because if you're not careful, yourself, that voice, the one from back then, starts becoming the narrator of your right now. And it'll sound like you. It'll say things like, I always mess things up. Nothing ever works out for me. But that's not truth. That's conditioning. That's pain trying to keep its grip on the pen. The moment you say, no more, everything changes. I remember this woman. We'll call her Alina. Yourself. Grew up in a house where nothing she did was enough. Straight A's. You could have done better. Cleaned the kitchen. Missed a spot. Every time she tried to shine, someone dimmed the light. So she stopped shining. She got older. Became quiet. Stuck to the rules. Stayed small. But one day she walked into a poetry night, just as a guest, sat in the back. Listened. Then someone said, herself, we've got an open mic if anyone wants to share. She doesn't even know why she stood up. Heart pounding. Voice trembling. Yourself. But she read one of the poems she'd been hiding in her notebook for years. The whole room went silent. When she finished, someone whispered, herself, that was cracked open. She started going back, week after week. Writing more. Reading more. One night, someone asked if she taught writing. She laughed. Yes, they said. You should. Today, she's a full-time writing coach. Yourself. Helps other people heal through words. All because she stopped letting her old story. I'm not enough. Be the narrator. She picked up the pen. And so can you. Self. But here's the thing. Real work. Emotional, uncomfortable work. It means digging into the places you buried. It means letting yourself feel what you tried so hard to ignore. It means saying, yes, that happened. Yes, it hurt. But I'm still here. Yourself. And I get to choose where this goes now. You don't have to forget. You just have to stop letting the memory hold the steering wheel. Yourself. Maybe you were cheated on, and now you don't trust anyone. Maybe you were abandoned, and now you push people away before they can leave. Maybe someone told you you'd never be good enough, and now you sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. It's time to take the pen back. Start by changing the language. Instead of, I was abandoned, try, I survived being left. Self. And I'm learning to love without fear instead of, I failed, tried, I learned, and I'm trying again. Instead of, I'm broken, try, I'm rebuilding. Words matter. Stories matter. Yourself. The way you talk to yourself becomes the way you see yourself. And don't wait for someone else to rewrite it for you. They can't. That's your job. Self. Because nobody knows your pain like you do. And nobody can turn it into purpose like you can. Yourself. But you've got to be willing to pick up that pen even if your hands are shaking. Courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's just a whisper. Self. It's not always standing on a mountaintop shouting victory. Sometimes it's rolling out of bed when everything in your body says, yourself, stay down. It's sending that email when your hands are shaking. It's walking into the room where you don't feel seen, don't feel ready, but you show up anyway. That's courage. It's not the absence of fear. It's moving forward with fear. Fear in one hand, faith in the other. Yourself. And let me tell you something. We've been sold the wrong image of what courage looks like. Yourself. It's not just the warrior on the battlefield or the firefighter running into flames. It's the mother raising her kids on her own. Yourself. It's the man trying again after losing everything. It's the student who keeps studying after failing the test twice. It's the person who stands up for themselves after years of staying silent. Courage wears many faces, and most of them aren't on magazine covers. Self. I remember a young man named Theo. Quiet guy. Grew up in a home where emotions weren't welcome. Be a man. His father used to say, anytime Theo cried, yourself, tone up. So he did. Stopped expressing. Started carrying everything alone. By the time he was in his 20s, he was successful on the outside, had a good job, nice apartment, decent car. But inside, he was drowning. It took everything in him to walk into a therapy office. Self. Took 3 cancellations, 2 drives around the block, and 100 whispered arguments in his head. But he finally did it. Sat on that couch, looked down at his shoes, and said, I don't know where to start. That moment. That was courage. Not glamorous, not dramatic, but real. And that one decision changed everything. Yourself. Courage isn't about the size of the step. It's about the direction. You don't have to leap. Sometimes it's just 1 inch forward. But it's forward, yourself. And every time you move forward in the face of fear, you're rewriting who you are. You're no longer the person who lets fear decide. Abuse yourself. You're the person who feels it and moves anyway. Let's get real. Fear's not going anywhere. It'll always be there, whispering in the background. Self. What if you fail? What will they think? What if you're not ready? But here's the truth. Fear is a liar. It's loud, but it's not right. Self. And if you listen to it long enough, you'll shrink your dreams to fit its volume. Courage. It's quieter, but deeper. It comes from inside. From your why. From your heart. You've got to be able to say, even if I fall, self, I'd rather fall forward than stand still. There's a woman I once spoke with. Let's call her Nadine, mid-40s. Worked the same job for over 20 years. Yourself. Good at it, but unfulfilled. She always dreamed of opening her own bakery. Always had notebooks full of recipes, sketches of what the storefront would look like, of a list of names. But every time she thought about quitting, fear would creep in. You're too old. What if no one comes? What if you lose everything? One day she told a friend about the dream. For the first time out loud. The friend looked her in the eye and said, "What's scarier, failing, or never trying at all?" That night she couldn't sleep. Those words kept echoing. Yourself. The next morning, she didn't quit her job. She didn't cash in her savings. But she did bake 3 dozen cupcakes and deliver them to a local event for free. Just to test the waters. People loved them. 1 order turned into 5. 5 turned into 10. Today, yourself. Nadine owns a little corner bakery with a line out the door on Saturdays. She didn't get there overnight. She didn't get there without doubt. Self. But she got there because she dared. That's courage. And you. You've got something inside you that's been calling your name. Maybe it's a story. Self. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a conversation you need to have. A boundary you need to set. A truth you need to live. Whatever it is, courage is what gets you to the other side. But hear this. Courage doesn't mean you don't cry. It doesn't mean you don't doubt. Self, it means you don't stop. Some of the most courageous people I've ever met were afraid every step of the way. But they took the step anyway. Yourself. And that's what separates the dreamers from the doors. You've got to ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? Then, do it while afraid. Self. Because fear isn't a stop sign. It's a signal that you're stepping outside the familiar. That means you're growing. You can either run from it, or run with it. You might sweat. You might shake. You might stumble. But you go. Because something bigger is calling. Can't you? That tug in your chest. That idea you keep pushing down. That vision that won't let go. That's not a coincidence. That's your calling. That's your future knocking. That's your future knocking. But here's the truth. No one's coming to push you. No one's coming to rescue you. You've got to choose. Choose to speak up. Choose to show up. Choose to be seen, even when it's uncomfortable. Because the only way you'll know what you're made of is to go find out yourself. You don't need permission. You don't need to be perfect. You just need a little courage and the willingness to act on it. Self. You don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself. That right there. That's the shift. Yourself. That's the moment when everything begins to change. Not when someone hands you an opportunity. Not when a door opens on its own. Yourself. Not when the world finally notices you. No. The real transformation begins when you decide, I'm done waiting. I'm done hoping somebody sees me. I see me. Because for too long we've been taught to wait for permission. Wait for validation. Wait for the perfect timing. Wait for someone to tell us, yes, you're ready. But what if that someone never comes? What if the world doesn't hand you the mic? Do you stay silent, or do you build your own stage? See yourself. Most people live their entire lives sitting on the bench, holding their gifts close, saying things like, if I just get one shot. But the truth is, the shot isn't coming. Not unless you create it. Nobody's going to choose you until you choose yourself. Yourself. And let me tell you, when you finally make that decision, to stop shrinking, to stop apologizing, yourself, to stop explaining your vision to people who don't even understand the language of dreams. It's like breathing for the first time. You stand taller. You speak with more power. You walk into rooms and stop asking, do I belong here? Instead, self, you decide, this room is lucky to have me. Now don't get it twisted. Choosing yourself doesn't mean arrogance. It's not about ego, self. It's about ownership. It's about knowing what you bring to the table. Even if you built that table yourself out of scraps, sweat, and prayer, self. I remember this young woman, Maya, brilliant writer, passionate, visionary, but she spent years submitting her work to every publication you could imagine. Rejected, ignored, not the right fit. She started to wonder, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe they're right. Then one day she flipped the script. Herself. She launched her own newsletter. No gatekeepers, no filters, just her voice, and a list of 22 subscribers. That's it. You know what happened? People started reading. They started sharing. 22 became 100. 100 became 1,000. Fast forward, and now she runs a thriving platform. Her voice, yourself, her rules, her lane. All because she stopped waiting to be chosen and chose herself. That's what it takes. Because there will always be people who don't get it. Always someone telling you to wait, to be realistic, to stay in your lane. But here's the thing. Their map isn't your territory. Their fear isn't your future, yourself. Their limits aren't your ceiling. When you choose yourself, you stop playing by their rules. You create, you lead, you disrupt, you move in a way that says, I wasn't born to fit in. I was born to stand out. Now, yourself. I know what some of you are thinking, but what if I fail? Let me ask you something. What if you don't? What if you win? What if this idea in your heart, yourself, this fire in your chest, this dream you keep pushing down, what if it's the thing that sets your whole life on fire in the best possible way? And even if you do fail, so what? At least you tried. At least you lived. At least you chose instead of waiting. Because waiting is the slowest kind of death. There's a man I once met, Darnell, spent decades in corporate, good money, prestige. But you could see it in his eyes. That wasn't where his heart was. His real dream, music. He played guitar like he was born with it in his hands. But he said, it's too late now. I said, Fo told you that. He just shrugged. 3 weeks later, he went to an open mic, terrified, hands shaking, voice trembling. But he did it. And the crowd, they felt him. Not because he was perfect, but because he was real. Today, he plays every weekend, teaches local kids, has an album on the way. So, not because somebody discovered him, because he discovered himself. You don't need someone to pick you. You need to pick yourself. That means investing in you even when it doesn't make sense. Believing in you, even when the evidence isn't there yet. Yourself. Showing up, even when no one's clapping. And no, it won't always be easy. Some days you'll question everything. You'll wonder if it's worth it. You'll be tempted to shrink again, to go back to waiting. But don't. Because every time you choose yourself, you reinforce something powerful inside of you. Worth, not the kind someone else gives you. The kind that comes from within. The kind that says, so I am worthy because I exist. Because I am here breathing, trying, daring. So if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. If you're waiting for someone to tell you it's time, I'm telling you, the stage is yours. The mic is in your hand. The moment is now. Choose yourself and don't look back.